Hello, my name is Kieran Rao, and this is a video tutorial on setting up your Android environment. This is part 1 of a tutorial series on creating screencasts for open intent Android apps. For this tutorial, we are in a Microsoft Windows environment using the Eclipse IDE. Before we begin, you must have the JDK or Java Developer Kit installed on your computer. I recommend using the 32-bit version, as there have been issues with the 64-bit. The JDK can be retrieved by going to oracle.com. As well, you have to have a basic understanding of computer programming. Eclipse. Eclipse is a free open source IDE or integrated development environment designed for Java and Java development. Eclipse is nice because Google has provided several plugins making Android development a lot easier. To get Eclipse, you have to go to eclipse.org and make sure you download the Eclipse IDE for Java developers, as there are many different variants. Also, I suggest you get the version that is compatible with your JDK, so 32-bit version or a 64-bit version. As I said before, I recommend the 32-bit version, but you can go with the 64-bit. One thing to note as Eclipse has no installer, it is just a simple zip file. We are at eclipse.com, and what you do is you click the Download tab in the top corner. Then you go to Eclipse IDE for Java developers and select the 32-bit version. As you can see, there are many different versions, as well as several versions included with third-party software, which can be rather confusing. So, if you just select the 32-bit version and download. Now that we downloaded the Eclipse IDE, all we have to do is go into the zip folder and take the files, create a folder somewhere on our computer that's called Eclipse, and simply copy all the files. Now that we're done, all we have to do is run the executable, configure some basic stuff, and Eclipse is ready to use. The Android SDK is a set of core tools for compiling and creating your Android apps. While it gives you the ability to compile your software, it isn't all the tools required to fully run and test your applications. Google has provided a Windows installer for this package, which is really easy and useful to manipulate. Okay, to get the SDK, you go to developer.android.com. And click on the SDK tab, and click the Windows installer, and continue. Now, one thing to note, you may want to change your destination folder. This by itself isn't an issue, but sometimes there are some third-party applications that have trouble with spaces. So I'm just going to go back to my development folder, make a new folder called Android, and install there. Now, when you're done, do not select Start SDK Manager. And now you've just installed the Android SDK. Now that we have Eclipse and the Android SDK installed, we need to install the Android Development plugin. This is called the ADT, or Android Development Tools, and it assists with automatically creating and debugging Android projects within the Eclipse IDE. Now, this can be installed directly through Eclipse, through a Linux-style interface. Now that we're in Eclipse, all we have to do is click the Help folder and do Install New Software. Now copy the URL of the repository and click Add. This is also available in the video description below. Now just wait for it to retrieve. And you'll see there's several developer tools. I usually select all of them because they're all useful and they aren't very large. Click next, and you're going to have to accept these licenses. And the software will now install. Now you may get this security warning, just accept it. And you're going to have to restart Eclipse. There's one last thing we need to do before we finish, and that's to link the SDK with the ADT. To do that, we go into Windows, Preferences, and change the SDK location to the location we installed it at. After we apply it, we're ready to go. The last thing we need to install is the Android platform. While the SDK only provides the core tools for Android, the Android platform provides the bulk of the tools required to develop for Android. These tools include SDK tools, USB debuggers, emulators, documentation, and much more. I recommend installing all the programs, as they aren't extraordinarily large, but many of them you'll need later. Now to get these tools, we go into Window and Android SDK Manager. Wait for it to load. And you can see here there's many different packages. Now, I will just select all because I want to be able to build for all these platforms. And click Install. Now I'm going to have to accept all of these. And click Install. Okay, I lied. All these files together are actually very large. Multiple gigabytes. And it's taken me over an hour so far. So, ignore what I said before. What you want to do is switch to the repository sort and select all the pieces from the Android repository, the Google repository, and yeah. Many of these third-party ones, though they don't seem very large, take a long time, mostly because many of them are on really slow servers. So yeah, ignore what I said before. Now that we've completed setting up our Android environment, a perfect way to test to see if everything's installed correctly is to create a sample project. To do that, we go to File, New, and select Other, then go to Android and select Android Project. Now we will call our project Hello World and build it for 1.6. The reason we're using 1.6 is that the emulators take a long time to load, and older versions take slightly less time, and it really doesn't matter which version. Now we'll call the package com.world.hello, and we'll keep this all the same and finish. Now if we try to run our application, we right-click the package and select Run As Android Application. We will get an error, as there are no virtual machines. Now we need to set up a virtual machine and create a new one and call it Test Device. And we'll also make it a 1.6. We'll give it 100 megabytes of RAM and have standard property values and create. Now we'll try to run this application again. and this test device appears. Now this may take a little while to load, but everything should run correctly. Thank you for watching.